Here's to Main Street, not Wall Street. Here's to being invested in each other. Here's to a return to what matters. Elevations Credit Union. It matters where you bank. Visit us online to see why.
Hi, my name's Jack O'Connor.
Mark Trenka.
Good seeing you. Thanks. Very good. Hi, Jack O'Connor. Nice to meet you. You don't have to hide way up over there. You can come up here. You can come up here if you like.
Thank you.
Hi, Jack
Susan
O'Connor.
Sechrist.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Feel free to. Plenty of seats up here at the tables. Guys, you're bringing champagne. Cool. Where you been when you get champagne? Oh, really? Wow. I've had people want to drink before they heard me speak, so go for it. Welcome. Hi, my name is Jack O'Connor.
Hi, Jack. Scott Samuels.
Nice to meet you. Welcome. Hi. Good. You bet. Good seeing you. All right, it's 9:30. How about we get going? I think we'll just start. My name's Jack O'Connor. I tried to introduce myself to most of you. This is a small enough group that if there's a question or something that comes up, just raise your hand. I think we can kind of get through that. How many of you own your own company right now? How many of you are managing an office? Okay, and how many of you are aspiring to be one of those? Okay, cool. So hopefully we'll give you some tips. All the things I'm going to talk about today are time-tested, proven management material. You'll find that the companies I've had a pretty good groundwork to experiment with, over the years. In fact, some of you may remember Bill Moore. I took him to dinner on Monday, and I worked for Bill for a long time. Bill is a great mentor, and he's now 83, and he's trucking along. So he's there if you know Bill. But he gave us a lot of real good basics in brokerage management. A lot of the things come though from trial and error. And as markets change, and as what I call agent personalities change. The agent personality today is significantly different than the agent personality we dealt with 20 years ago. So we have to have different programs. So we're going to talk about three things that work. I'm always curious to find that there's a lot of people who want to get into the ring. So they want to be matadors. They want to fight the battle, because I think you either have to love management and people or you hate it. There's no really in between. You either love it or you hate it, okay? So there's a lot of people who want to get in the ring, but once they finally get there, they discover they really just want to wear tight pants and hear the crowd roar, okay? That's ultimately what happens in residential brokerage. So when we go through and we talk about some of these things, understand I'm anticipating that you go, I love what I do, and although it's rewarding to see people grow in their business, you have to run a business like a business. You still have to be able to do it, okay? So there's three principles that I want to cover today. One is understanding your strengths. Not all of us are going to be good at every single thing in brokerage management. I mean, there's so many parts of the business model that you need to be able to delegate some and do some yourself. So what are you good at? The second thing we're going to cover is how to provide an inspirational environment. Motivating today's sales force is significantly different than it was even 3 years ago. You know, there's way different ways of communication. And, you know, some of the offices that I work in and have gone in around the United States, they're really spread out now. The days of having 100 desks, you know, are gone. They're really gone. So how do you create an environment with this mobile society of Salesforce that we have? And then finally, running your business like a business. Real estate, you know, we have lived under the demise that if we get one more transaction, we can buy that thing, you know. We live that way. But there are principles of business operations that you want to be able to cover. So let's take a look at a few of these deals. Working your strengths. Leadership is not about authority. It's about responsibility and relationships. And the more relationships that you can build in a relatively short period of time, the faster you can get it. Now, if anyone wants this outline, just leave me your business card at the end and I'll email it to you, all right? So that'll make it easy for you, okay? But it's all about relationships. And I would say the success that you'll have in your brokerage firm is predicated on the relationships that you're going to have. And I think you already know that, but sometimes we don't have time. For example, you hire a brand new licensee, they just came out of Kaplan or Armbrust, and it's hard if you've been in the business 25, 30 years to understand why they don't understand that earnest money is credited at closing. And you're thinking to yourself, what did I just hire, right? So you have to have a relationship with the people who are just beginning their career, and we were all there, weren't we? At one point, we were that kind of green, to the person who's highly experienced, who doesn't accept change, who if you introduce a new program into your brokerage firm, they're upside down because they can't handle the change. And the change could have been as easy as implementing an electronic signature, right? So we deal with the gamut of relationships that are there. So first of all, understanding your strengths. The first one is how to influence people. You'll never be able to direct a sales force in real estate. If Mike comes up to me and says, Jack, I want to sell, you know, to make $100,000 a year, okay, fine. Call 50 people a week, you know, send 3 mailers a month, blah, 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 right? I can give them the formula, but I can't influence them to do the formula. So it doesn't matter whether you follow any specific training system, be it Buffini or Ninja Selling, or it doesn't matter. What matters the most is that you know the formula, it's influencing them to do the formula. And you're going to influence them a different way. Everybody's carrot is a little bit different, okay? Secondly, you're going to develop your sales skills to be able to bond better for those brokers. They think you're going to have all the answers, right? The good news is there's really only 4 major objections that we face in real estate, and that hasn't changed over life. It really is why you, why your company, why you know, pricing, and then commission. If we can learn to answer 4 of those objections, for the most part, we're going to sell plenty of real estate. Our agents are looking to us to be able to convey those answers in a regular basis. We'll cover some of those. Third part of leadership is accepting accountability. We have a P&L statement. You know, you have some system, back-end system that shows you how you did each month. You took in so much money, you spent so much money. So whether it's a QuickBooks system or whether it's you know, some more advanced system than that, you have to accept some accountability for profit. You know, you need to know where are you in your profit margin each and every month. Now, a lot of us that have done this a while manage cash, right? Most brokerage firms today manage cash. Unless you're with a large conglomerate, you know, an NRT or something of that nature, you're managing cash all the time, aren't you? Okay? And so that accountability is to be able to understand the cash flows that occur. When do most of your income from your closings occur? Unless you have a desk fee company. End of the month. So you're fronting expenses to recoup them at some point. If you're a desk fee company, you're typically, you know, fronting expenses to collect the money on the first of the month. So it doesn't matter the model, the income and expense stream, there's always going to be a bubble where you don't have enough money for the expenses that are there. So you have to have some accountability of being able to manage cash flows. You have to know the importance of making a profit. what's a legitimate, in your eyes, what's a legitimate profit for if you spent $100,000 to open your brokerage firm, what would you think you should make per year? And maybe you spent less than that, but what would you think? If you invested $100,000, what do you think you ought to make off that return? Now, if you don't know the answer, or you're waiting for me to give you the answer, I don't know your answer. I know my answer. My answer is about 24%. And if I'm not making a 24% return on initial investment, why am I doing this? Because I can go put something in the market, right? So I want you to understand, if you invest $100,000 and you're going to make $24,000 net profit a year, net, beyond your salary, beyond your stuff, okay, then it becomes brain damage. Now, that's not a right number for you necessarily, but you need to figure out what that looks like to you, all right? It's very important that you know what it is. And if you don't know the number, you go, well, that's why I came. Okay? Understanding the 5 languages. Salespeople are the most fickle, unknown commodity you'll ever have in your life. One day they're happy, and the next day they're a disaster. So you need to understand how to affirm their sales force value to the company. How many of you have a salesperson in your brokerage firm that is what I call the suggestion person? And they make suggestions like, John, you should be running your firm this way, right? And if we say something, maybe we're rushed and we say something short, that person gets hurt feelings, correct? And that person goes tells 6 other people, boy, Jack is really a jerk today. If you're not affirming salespeople's value to the company all the time, somehow, some way, we lose the message. And that's hard. It's hard. Secondly, you need to know how to spend quality time with the people who are selling real estate. Who's the person in your firm? This is rhetorical. Who's the person in your firm that takes up most of your time? And if that person's not your top producer, I want you to think about what you're doing. Think about it. You have so much time to spend with so many people. Think about how you allocate that amount of time to the people who are actually selling the real estate. All right. Third, knowing how to reward and encourage people. It's been my philosophy, and I've been with some really fine companies over the years, but it's been my philosophy to get away from individual awards and have them move as a group. There are plenty of companies that do individual recognition for salespeople that is very successful. And I'm not suggesting it's not. It just doesn't happen to be my company culture. So when we, make people happy, we kind of get everybody in the picture. But there are some very successful entities. If you're not rewarding salespeople, however, though, for something, they lose interest quickly. All right? They lose interest. I would suggest you in smaller firms, it's really hard to have a just listed, top lister, top seller, because it tends to be the same person repetitively over and over and over. And that gets defeating for the other people. So that's why I do other kinds of rewards of people who are willing to step up and do training classes, people who are willing to support our programs, people who are willing to do activities within our firm. Okay, so those people get rewarded in different ways. The best reward, I can tell you, at Prestige, I started a nonprofit foundation. In fact, RE/MAX Professional is still running the foundation I started. When I opened this smaller firm, I opened a foundation. So agents can donate $5 or $10 out of their commissions into this nonprofit organization. Well, this time of year, I match whatever they gave, okay, into the foundation. So for example, if they gave $500 over the course of a year, I'm going to give them $500 in their name to the charity, so long as it's a Colorado 501(c)(3), okay? 501(c)(3), I should say. So that's my little reward perk. You can't believe how excited they are when they get to take their picture with the Boys and Girls Clubs or Cancer Society or whatever their charge is. It's a nice reward for them. And part of our culture, which is, I suspect, part of your values as a company, just raise your hand if it is. How many of you like to give back to the community? Everybody. Do you have a physical way you can do it to involve the agents where they buy in? And if you don't, this is an easy way of doing it. Fourth thing is understand what services brokers want. What do you think agents want 100% of the time? What do you think they want? Money, but how do they get money? Leads. So whenever someone interviews with me and says, well, how many leads you're going to give me, that's usually a pretty big red flag for me, because if I can't train them how to obtain the leads themselves, they're probably not going to sustain themselves over time. There's plenty of companies that would offer 15, 20 leads a month, and they scrub those leads and have to work through them, and that works as well. But in my firm, I want to grow their business, and that's what this is all about. So understanding what services they want, I have to teach them the techniques in today's world to get leads. All right? And I do it very simply. I create programs to get them in front of their target group 10 times a year, face-to-face. Because I still believe face-to-face is ultimately what sells real estate. No question about it. And then creating a camaraderie within the team. So we do things like company retreats. We do things that that may be a little esoteric for some. We have a Bible study. We do some things differently that I think you'd find different. Okay? That could be controversial in some organizations. Smaller firm, it's a little easier to do that. Number 6 in understanding your strengths is creating standards. Just to show of hands, how many of you have a production standard in your firm that if an agent doesn't make the production, they're fired at the end of the period of time? Okay? I've watched this morph now. I've been in brokerage management since 1983, which is a long time. We used to say if you couldn't sell real estate, you couldn't work here. You know, I don't know if you were in one of those firms or had that kind of standard. Today, we tend to lower our standards. And I'm going to encourage you to take a look at what that looks like. Now, a very decent formula for you to be able to establish standards would be is if you took your sales force and you had a period of time that was allowed them to be successful, whether it's 6 months or a year, more than likely a year, and they were the bottom 10% of your sales force, and they were not contributing to the profitability of your company, why are they there? Now, there's plenty of firms in the Denver marketplace that people could go and hang their license at a very minimal cost. So there's no reason for you to keep people necessarily if they're not contributing to the bottom line in a positive nature. It's not all about money, but it most certainly is about standards. How often do you inspect the mailers that go out from your sales force? How often do you look at their listing presentations, their buyer presentations? What are you doing to make sure that their standards at the point of sale are higher than their competition? So that is a critical part of our company without having to say, Elaine, if you don't sell 10 homes, you're fired. See, that would be abusive, right? But what I do need to say is I'm going to help you grow your business. You want to earn $100,000 a year, I'm going to help you grow it. But what's your plan B if it doesn't work? I want them taking the responsibility for their behaviors, not being able to rely on the brokerage firm to say, well, it's because of you I failed. Okay. You have to have skills that inspire. You have to recognize. You have to focus on the objectives of the firm. These are all working your strengths. Objectives typically are we want to sell X number of homes, to create X number of dollars revenue, to be able to have a net return on investment. Pretty simple formula, right? And if you don't sell enough homes, you don't make enough revenue, you don't have any profit. In 2009, would everybody admit that was one of the worst years we had here in Denver for real estate sales? If you were managing a company, it was skinny. Okay? At Prestige that year, when we merged with RE/MAX Professionals, we made $900,000 net profit. Pretty good year considering the marketplace tanked. How do you do it? How do you do it? Well, you focus on the objectives of figuring out how do you make every dollar expand. And what I mean by that, there's certain expenditures that you may morph, you may change. You could lower your rents. You may renegotiate your rents in a downtime. This is nothing to sneeze about, and I'm very serious. Okay, she's my friend. That's right. So focusing on objectives really are critical in your passion to run this business. I get to coach. I only take 5 brokers every 6 months, and I coach them around the United States. And so the first part of the coaching is, can you send me your business plan? Now, this is hysterical for people who run their own company. They can give me a financial budget, but they can't give me what I call an activity or an action plan. So if the action plan is how you get these 3 things in order, that's objectives. So what is the primary objective of your action plan each and every day? Most of us is to recruit, retain, make a profit. But there's activities or actions that go with it. And if you're not doing those activities, then you can't grow your business. All right? Same way our sales force can't grow their business. And then mastering different leadership styles is a critical part of being able to know your strengths. So let's take a look at planning for growth. Real estate brokerage, in my opinion, has, over the last 10 years, has been in a survival mode. The days of developing a culture in a company, really, it became, I just need to generate enough revenue to be able to offer X number of services to the buyers and sellers who are out there. Okay? Pretty common through, no matter what model you had, there was insufficient revenue. So it became a survival mode, not a plan for growth. Almost every brokerage topic you'll hear, the plan for growth is to hire more people. And I would suggest to you I would challenge that. I would challenge that. I've already had the 500 agent company. And I would tell you in a 500 agent company there's a whole bunch of waste. In fact, the last year at Prestige, our line item for coffee was $26,000. Go back and look at how much free coffee you give in an 8-office, 500-agent firm. Coffee, $26,000. And you think to yourself, where did it go? Where did it go? Right? So you can't just survive the next 10 years. Here's the great part about being in Colorado. The next 10 years will probably exhibit the greatest growth in economic history that we've ever seen in this economy. We have been a boom or bust economy for probably 30 or 40 years. For the next 10 years, you're going to see a consistent growth. Why is that? Because job growth will be consistent over the next 10 years. Colorado will be an energy resource for the next 10 years. If you want an analogy, look at South Dakota. It's in its 9th year of a 10-year growth. Colorado is right there. What will happen in Weld County, Larimer County, and up in the northeast part of Colorado will be staggering. But where will those people get systems and services from? Denver. Where will they go play? The mountains. Right? The state will benefit on a job growth that you've never seen. So you've got to plan your company to grow. So here's how you do it. You have your likes, you have your abilities. Somewhere in between there is these little things called strengths. When you do that, if you focus clearly on doing the things you do well, your company's going to grow. If you are putting out fires at every turn of the day, your company stagnates. Now, I made it very black and white, but to me it is. I focus only on the strengths, and I hire everybody else to do the things I'm not good at. I think that's important for you to understand. Because when you figure that out, then you're going to have a great day every day. You're going to be grateful for the opportunity to be able to help somebody grow their business. Okay? So there's 9 dimensions. The first one is planning strategically. I'm going to go over these quickly because when you get the outline, I want you to be able to look back and put a check mark, yeah, I'm good at that, or no, I can improve upon that. But out of the 9 slides I'm going to give you, I suspect you're good at about 6 of them. It's okay. That's okay. We're not perfect in everything. But then the 3 you're not so good at, make sure you delegate. That's it. Then you have a game plan of how to do this. So planning strategically, that's your business plan. Secondly, openness to learning. A lot of brokers get to the point of being a broker saying, we tried that, that's not going to work. That language is a killer for today's agent because they're coming with some level of enthusiasm that they think they can help you grow your business. So if you shut them down pretty fast, they're not going to talk, or in essence, they'll find another place to work. Being proactive. Being proactive doesn't mean risk-taking. What it does mean is trying some things that can grow your business. Trying some things that are beneficial to you. Okay? So when I say risk is an aversion. Nobody in brokerage wants to take a risk. But a risk-taking would be creating an activity that would allow your salespeople to grow their business. For example, how many of you run some consumer program on a repetitive basis that allows your agents to invite their target group to this consumer program to give your agent just an opportunity to say hi? So you don't know what I'm talking about. Okay. How many of you run an economic public symposium, say, here's the Denver marketplace's forecast for the next 12 months? You run anything like that? If you did, and you went and got a speaker, right? You went and got some economist, somebody who can at least stand up here and not bore people to death, but you hire some economist, you as the real estate broker talk about real estate trends. Where would you get that information from? MetroList. If you're in Denver, in your MLS system, if you're outside of Denver, every single MLS system has statistics of where you've been and where it's going. All you do is regurgitate and say, well, 1 year ago, if you looked at the statistics that came out from MetroList this month, September was 16% off in closings from August. Right? Everybody know that here? I suspect you did. All you got to do is stand up and tell people that. Now, here's the beauty of that program. You get your agents to invite their target group to a breakfast at 7 in the morning. You have some speaker, 7:30 in the morning, you have some speaker come in before work on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, and they get to talk to 100 or 200 people, inviting them, saying, would you like to come to our economic symposium on such and such a day? And you get a yes or a no. Now, if you put your agents in face-to-face or a phone call with these people, do you think their productivity would go up just by the fact they've called somebody? Yeah, they would call somebody. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? That they could get some business by calling somebody. Now, we know that. I run 10 programs a year like that. So virtually every 6 weeks, they're getting call and invite someone to something that may be real estate related. It could be social related. The next one we have coming up is Blossoms of Light on December 11th, I think it is, where I pre-bought 200 tickets to Blossoms of Light, which is at the Botanic Gardens on York Street in downtown Denver, on York Street, okay? So it's an inexpensive ticket, but if you've not been to Blossoms of Light, I know Perry, you guys used to have a sponsored night there, didn't you? Yeah. I don't know if you still do it. Maybe you still do it. You do it at the zoo now, which is a bigger light show, okay? More kid stuff, right? But what it is to be able to allow your agents to call people in a very non-threatening manner. Think about it. Now, does that work for your broker? Is that a risk? It could be, because if nobody shows up, it's a risk. But you're creating a behavioral system, okay? Inspiring others to act, motivating and delegating. Very important part of your strengths. Are you good at that? Decision making. Are you good at making decisions, or do you analyze to the point of you create paralysis of your brain? I see way many brokers going, I just don't know. Just don't know if I want to take that leap. Well, if you're in brokerage firm, you're going to take some leaps. You're going to do some things well, you're going to do some things where they mess up. But you got to do something. If there's one area that we all can improve upon, is communicating. It may be a current strength, but I would almost encourage you to say communication is critical in being able to get your sales force motivated. Being able to move them in a particular direction is very important. How do you get them to use an electronic system, whether it's an intranet system, an electronic contract system, electronic filing system, if they're not used to it? Okay? How do you get them to do that? Well, you're going to communicate in a way that they get it. Okay? Relating to people is the next step in strengths. I suspect every single one of you are good at this. That's why you're in the position you're at. Developing people, coaching, training, mentoring. You are the leader of your firm. If you delegate that to somebody else, I can almost assure you they'll follow somebody else. Now, I'm not knocking the fact that there are some very fine training programs in the United States, but I am suggesting to you, if you don't embrace the one you send your people to, guess what? They're going to follow that person more so than you. So whether it's ninja selling or Buffini or Tom Ferry or any of the things that are out there that allow people to kind of graduate through training, you better be the one to embrace it because you're developing them on site. We all have to have a level of trustworthiness as our strength. And then I'm going to ask you to, your activities, which one of these 9? When you get the outline, I'm going to highly encourage you just to take it, figure out which one you're good at and which one you're not. Okay? Step 2, providing an inspirational environment. How many agents do you think get into real estate to fail? None, right? They all come with this enthusiasm to go, well, I'm going to sell homes and, we're just going to go do it, right? Not one person. So why do so many fail? Why do you think? I don't know, Jack, just tell us. This works better if you answer when I ask. I'll just tell you that. Okay, so it's pretty much, but how did you start? You bet. How did the rest of us? We were given a seat, call so many people, and go for it, have fun, knock them dead. Okay? There was a lack of clarity of task on the owner's part, correct? So clarifying the role is critical to being able to have an inspiring environment. If you don't clarify the role in the interview, you lose. It's the interview stage. So let's take a look at some inspirational comments, so to speak. So does your agent's knowledge, inspire confidence and certainty? If you have some people out there today, and they're writing a contract today, and you're here, okay, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I hope Martha doesn't write one today. Okay? If you have that, then you haven't done a really good job of clarifying the roles of where we are. Okay? I had a Martha one time, and I was at Crown Realtors. I couldn't wait to get rid of her. Okay? She killed me. I was scared to death she'd say something. You ever have that? Don't say anything. Don't do anything. Don't sell real estate. Okay? So there's 3 questions you got to ask. Do they know what's happening? Do they know why it's happening? And can they communicate it to a third party? That is the key to training. And if they can't do those 3 things, rein them in. Okay? Get them to be with someone. So your first responsibility really is to define reality for them. And I do that at the interview process. Okay? So my job is to have an inspirational environment, keep the standards high. I do have a production standard. So if I have 25 agents today, the average production is about 22 transactions per agent. Okay? So it's a lot. But I have some new people who we hired earlier this year. They're scared to death they may get fired. Why do you think they're scared to death? They've sold 1 or 2 homes, and they see all this production around them. But what happened at the interview process that I talked to them about standards? Yeah. Because I told them the average agent here in their first year will sell between 6 and 10 homes. And if they don't get the 6 or 10 homes, do you think that they're looking over their shoulder? So when I coach them on Tuesdays and they come in and go, I am really scared. Well, what are you scared about? Well, I haven't sold enough. Well, why haven't you sold enough? See, we got to go through that first grade process, correct? And if you're not prepared to maintain standards, you'll have people do very minimal work. In fact, you'll have people drink your coffee. That's what I learned at Prestige. They drink your coffee. You don't want them to do that, okay? Maintain a competency in real estate practice and law. Be innovative in the skills you have, and be sensitive to your sales force. I would say that most people would think I'm fairly direct, and I am, but I've learned over time that you have to soften that position. You can't be a dictator in sales. You have to be their parent in sales. So you can give boundaries, but most certainly if you're not there to pat them on the back, they just don't come to work. They don't show up mentally. Okay? So you need to inform, instruct, inspect, and inspire. These are the 4 I's, not about you. Okay? So inform, creating clarity from confusion. There is a mess. How many of you have checklists for what agents who are brand new going from A to B? Here's a transaction, checklist A to B. And if you have that, you're always morphing that checklist to meet today's demands, correct? So this is what you do when you take a listing. And it's maybe 35 things, correct? Here's what you do when you have a buyer. And there's like 25 things, okay? You got to have a checklist. And then they're coming back with you to the checklist to say, I don't understand number 11. Cool. Now you can manage the lists. That's clarity. That's informing. Secondly, being passionate about the programs you have. So if I'm going to run a workshop and I want people to invite their target group, I got to get them excited. I got to make them feel like this is a good thing for them. And you plant the seed saying, well, you wanted to sell 10 homes this year. Here's how you do it. Call these people. Give me your list. Call them. Okay? Be ethical and competent. Now, that's easy for a lot of you. You've been through all of the courses. You have all the competency levels. That's what they're expecting. And they are expecting you to maintain high standards. I actually show up to work in my work clothes. I don't show up in my golf outfit. Because when I'm at work, they need to see that I'm working. It's really not that hard. Okay? But the minute you lower your standards, then they'll follow. Okay? So video messages are here. If you don't have a YouTube channel, you can get YouTube messages out. You can place it on your channel, send it to everyone via a link. And so if we have a more mobile society and being able to clarify things, and you don't have regular sales meetings, you have to have some way to meet Commission Rule 39 to supervise your agents. Okay? You have to have something. So, regular public messages, consistent messages to your sales force. Real clearly, on Mondays, they get an email from me, and on Wednesdays, I do a video. Very simple. And I've done that for years, both at Prestige and Remax, now the Denver 100. I continually just do the same system because it's a clarity. It works. They can expect on Monday morning they're going to see all the events for that month on an email. Okay? We have an intranet system as well, but people don't read their intranet system. Okay? So, can't sure they'll read the email, but it's there. Sales meetings. How many of you run some kind of sales meeting? How repetitive is it? Once a week? Twice a month? Once a month? Never. Oh, so you all run some kind of forms of sales meetings. Cool. So I don't call them sales meetings because that sounds boring to me. So I call it know the topic in advance. So for example, I'll name the topic just like they would name this program, 3 Tips to Grow Your Business. I'll name the topic we're going to talk about. The easiest way to do that is to break up the year in 12 distinct themes. So if January's theme is to get more listings, we're going to have listing topics in January. If February's theme is to capture more buyers, February will be buyer-type topics. Okay? Now, I probably have 500 sales meetings in what I call a canister, so I can regurgitate them at any given time. You probably have them, you just don't know you have them. Because if you've been doing sales meetings for any length of time, you have something that was really good 3 years ago, but you just got to bring it forward. And if you don't, start creating a library of your meetings. Start on time, rearrange the room. This is where I fired Martha. I was managing the Crown office on Hamden. And I was so excited we hired the #1 Coldwell Banker agent from across the street. And if you remember on Hamden in the early 80s, there was Moore & Company and Coldwell Banker and Crown Realtors and Van Schok. They were all in like a block. I was so excited that I got to hire the #1 person from Coldwell Banker across the street. And I put this person, I said, sit right here next to me. I can't wait to introduce you to everyone at the sales meeting. She got there early, we're talking. Here comes Martha, who hadn't sold a home in a year, that I was scared to death she'd open her mouth. Here she comes walking in, and what do you think she said to this person? You're sitting in my seat. When I gave up ownership of the seat, I knew I gave up ownership of the company. And so I rearranged the room so Martha could never find her seat again. Ultimately, we fired her. But I can absolutely tell you, rearrange the room. Don't keep, whether you use your conference room or you go to a restaurant or some different place to have your meeting, rearrange the room and make it a fun event. Don't make it static. Because if it's static, people take ownership of a space. And when they take ownership of the space, they lose the topic. Okay? Create different sequence of events. So if you do new listings first, change it and do it last sometimes. Okay, just move it around. Invite speakers of value. The best speaker that I've ever had, it comes every February. It's when they do Girl Scout cookie selling. Right? Have a Girl Scout come and sell cookies to your office. What do you think your agents will learn about presentation skills? It's amazing because an 11-year-old will come with 3x5 cards and they'll say, well, here's what we have. And every one of us has somebody who has a Girl Scout or somebody in their organization, right? And they always post the thing in the kitchen, can you buy Girl Scouts from, cookies from my daughter? Well, I got in this habit of, well, invite your daughter to the sales meeting. I'll guarantee 100 boxes. 100 boxes. Because if no one will buy it, I'll buy 100 boxes. Okay? And sure enough, the whole topic of the meeting is how to present yourself for a listing, how to present yourself for a buyer proposal, and agents finally get it. It clicks like if this 11-year-old can do it, I can do it. And it's a matter of knowing your scripts, correct? So that's just some ideas on some sales meeting rules to keep people clear, to keep them engaged. Instruct and inspect. Very important to be able to have formal education programs and one-on-one coaching. Formal education could be a third-party delivery. It could be a webinar. It could be your talent in your office, depending on the size of your office. I mean, I have a relatively small office, but there's not a training class that's not run that I don't get 15 or 16 people minimum out of about 25. That's the expectation to show up and learn certain things. Next, on Mondays, I call it Monday Morning Mojo. So next Monday, I'm doing a CMA class. Some of our most experienced people will come to the CMA class. Because every single time Metrolist changes to Matrix and to something else, they don't know how to do a CMA and they won't buy Cloud CMA. Okay? They won't buy it. So I have to teach them the basics of how to use the new tool that happens to be at your fingertips. Correct? Do you find that to be true? Just say yes and amuse me. Because this is on tape. I want to make sure people know that you're here. Just say yes. Yes. Okay, thank you. Give them clear direction. Let them try. Direct to a higher level. And then, don't save them. Don't save them. Let them try. It's okay. Manage in 90-day plans when you're coaching people. Even though you have a year plan, a year, business plan, manage in 90 days. It's much easier to alter and change plans. And so when I coach top producers around the United States, I can almost tell you that my coaching plan is in 2 90-day segments and they're done. So a lot of coaching programs, you go on and on for life. If you don't get it after 6 months in my coaching program, you're fired. I say that in jest. But if they can't improve their productivity by double in 6 months, then I didn't do a good job as a coach. So why wouldn't I have the same thing for my sales force? Need to get them from going from here to here. Can you change someone's behavior in a day? You can if you influence them properly. So you guys are going, how do you do that? Well, how you do it is to be able to get them to buy into the system. The system seeing people. Would everybody agree? If I create brokerage programs that get them in front of people, what's the excuse? There isn't any. So all I have to say is, will you, Mike, be inviting people to this program? Great. How many can you do this week? Okay, great. And then our program's in about 6 weeks. How many can you do between now and the end of the program time? 50, all right? So over 6 weeks, you're going to talk to 50 people. How many people do you think are going to need to buy or sell over that 6-week period that you're going to talk to?
A handful.
Just a couple maybe, right? Could you get more people?
Yeah.
How would you do it?
Talk to more people.
That's my conversation with agents, right? Because I know 50 over a 6-week period won't get him the results he needs. But if I say, you're an idiot, that won't work, they shut down. But I got to influence them to be able to work and say, tell me how you're going to do it. And I get them to buy into it. And then I hold them accountable for it. Say, next Tuesday when we meet, is it okay that we just check up to see how many people you actually invited and how many people you actually got? I'm not talking about real estate, am I? I'm talking about relationships. So my focus in influencing people is to be able to encourage them that the relationship they build is more important than the amount of real estate they sell. And if they can create more relationships, they're going to win. You do that by inspiring them. Got to have a high level of this. This is the workshops that I mentioned to you. This is the stuff that we do right now. The process of selling a home. And it could be first-time home buyer selling. It could be first-time buyer workshops. Right now, 47% of the buyers in Denver are first-time buyers. Right? We know that for a fact. So if you team up with a lender, title company, or both, and you run a first-time home buyer workshop in Denver City and County, the likelihood of someone showing up is going to be pretty good. And the likelihood you're going to generate leads for your agents is pretty good. Okay? But you have to do it twice a month. It's not a movie that comes out once and you just hope that everyone follows it. Okay? So you have to do the behavior. So we do these quite regularly, and they work. We have a Rockies night. We have Blossoms of Light that I mentioned. I have 4 functions a year for my charity on how we raise money. So I have things going all the time in conjunction with these things. Okay? All of that stuff. And all of that is of value to the agents to talk to people. Right? And if you can get into the habit as a brokerage firm to allow your agents to get in front of people, what do you think happens to their productivity? Goes up, right? It's not magical, and I look of a valuable tool to them in their kit versus just a broker taking in some money. Because every day they go, what's the dialogue I use to invite them to take a picture with Santa? It's pretty simple, isn't it? And the take a picture with Santa is cheap with today's technology. Cheap. You probably already have a camera. All you have to do is take a picture, hire a Santa, print it at your office, and give it to the kid and let them put it on their refrigerator for 3 weeks. With, of course, your branding of your company and the agent's face. Right? Simple program, but you made it work for them. Here's 10 guaranteed ways that your agents can create raving fans. Number 1, give them the platinum rule. Treat them how they want to be treated. If you teach your agents this, they'll win. Number 2, sell the experience, not the product. If you had to try to sell real estate and describe, here's what we're going to do for the next 6 weeks together, and Mark, by the way, you're going to love the inspection for 3.5 hours. Yeah, that's the minutia. They don't like that. Sell the experience. 3, expand your scripts. So we work on scripts on a weekly basis, but they're timely. So I print out a newsletter each month called So How's the Market? That's the title of the newsletter, and it's on our blog on the Denver 100. If you want to see it, you can go look at it for the last 10 years. But each month I print So How's the Market that allows our agents to use that with their people. And guess what I have to tell them every month about So How's the Market? What to say. What's the number 1 question they're going to get asked every day? How's the market? What's their answer? I don't know. Good. It's unbelievable. It's great. But those answers are benign and don't allow them to build a relationship, correct? So when they get So How's the Market newsletter, so Julie says, Jack, how's the market? It's exciting and challenging. In fact, I probably have it right here. I'll even show you how we do it. This is functional real estate right here. Got to get my marijuana talk going. Speaking at NAR and how marijuana affects residential real estate. So here we go. Julie says to me, Jack, how's the market? It's exciting and challenging, Julie. In fact, I print this up for my clients each month. Would you like me to email this to you on a regular basis? What do I just get? Email. Did I just get permission to stay in touch? So now I gave them a script to work on, but people work better with tools than they do just words. So if they have something physical, take it. Then when they take it, I get an email. Okay? All right? It works the same way if you have a company newsletter or you have anything like that. Okay? Focus on the children. Family, occupation, recreation, dreams. Larry Kendall has preached that to us for 30 years. If you haven't figured it out, focus on the children. Invite input on improvement. What this means is have surveys. Do lots of surveys on how was your real estate transaction? How did it work? Can I get better at it? I encourage our agents to at the closing to do a 7-day walkthrough. So if the closing is today, 7 days from today, they should be going through the home. It's part of my brokerage checklist to say, I noticed you had a closing last Tuesday. Are you going through the home with the seller, or excuse me, the buyer this coming Tuesday? I get a list of all the closings. I've done that forever. Why is that important 7 days after the closing? What do most agents do after the closing? They forget about them. I got to get them back into the loop. Okay? Have a housewarming party for the buyers. This has worked very well for us. Okay, so you bought a home from us, we're going to invite all the neighbors and have a housewarming party within a month. Okay? Give back programs, that's our foundation. Create enhanced services. Enhanced services are handyman services, cleaning services. I use a company called Luxury Moving Solutions, which is a concierge for helping people move. This is the best service I've had. It is my significant other, so I'm not trying to sell her, okay? But by all means, she shows up the day the people are moving, and she manages the movers for the clients. Oh my goodness. I get more notes between her and the cleaning crew than anything else I could do all day. Enhanced services. Okay. Have a post-closing plan we talked about, and then acknowledge referrals. Those are the 10 steps you need to get your agents to do. Okay? So, step 3, understanding profitability. We're going to race to the finish. First of all, the most common qualities of a successful agent: curiosity, thirst, propensity, they're givers. These people are always really good. And I tell agents when they say, I'm terrible at prospecting. I said, okay, let me show you an example. Would you go to everyone in your neighborhood today, everyone, if they were going to build a nuclear waste dump outside our front gate? Could you go to everyone and get them to sign a form and say you don't want the nuclear waste dump? And how many of your agents would say yes, they could do that? They all could say it. So the thought of they can't build relationships goes out the window. But by all means, what I want to have them do is to take that same enthusiasm toward building who they are. And that's what's hard. Okay? So think of all those. So, objective viewpoint, your business system. It's very important to have a business system. I am a systems person. So I standardize all the services. Standardize them all of when people do things. I find that in coaching, people are better in the morning than they are in the afternoon. Occasionally I'll get an agent who's better in the afternoon. But the majority of the people are better in the morning. Do you find that? So I standardize their services between 9:30 and 10:30. What are they supposed to be doing with their relationship building? Calling somebody. So I purposely put my sales meeting after their relationship building time so that they can come right to the sales meeting after. They can't make an excuse to say, well, I went to the sales meeting today, so I didn't have time to make my calls. Baloney. Standardize them. So the biggest stumbling block are themselves and judgment. This is the maturation of an agent getting to 100 transactions a year. If you're down here, you can see that they're suspects and they're in survival mode. So you need to be able to look at it and say, how do I get them up the ladder? What do I have to do? But this is clearly until they get to about 30 transactions, they're not very competent. They're just not very competent at all. In fact, they're questioning their ability every single time. So think about it, how you do that. This is the extent of true leadership. Yeah. I don't need to read it. You're good at it. So, you can only hire people who are moving toward you. How many emails do you get in a week that says, come join our firm? That, regardless of the message, I probably get 50. I get calls from people and they go, do you want to come and check out our firm? I don't know. What do you offer? Tell me on the phone. And they go, well, what do you mean, what do we offer? I just want to know who you are. I don't even know who you are. So if you can't get away from all of that mass recruiting, you're not going to attract any agents. All right? Here's reasons people leave their firm. Statistic, this was a study from NAR to prove why agents leave their firm. Okay? Rarely does another firm become attractive. Rarely. Rarely. It's usually activities within your firm prompted them to leave. You changed the commission structure. You changed an expense line item. You changed locations. You changed something, and it threw them in a tizzy. And they go, well, I'm leaving. Good luck. Okay, you can be crass about it or talk about it. But if you know that's why they leave, then you got to keep them informed. Here's where we're going. Here's what we're doing. The value of a culture in a company is predicated on how you communicate. Here's where we're going. Here's what we're doing. And so if there's anything you get out of this whole program is when I go back to my office, I'm going to tell them here's where we're going. Now, it doesn't have to be every single week. I don't have to give the vision of the company for 5 years every week. But I most certainly have to say, here's where we're going over the next week. Here's where we're going over the next month. Here's where we're going over the next year. Here's where we'll be in 3 years. Here's where we'll be in 5 years. I'm older than most of you. There's people going, well, how long are you going to do this stuff, Jack? I get that question. What? Am I being put out to pasture? So if I don't give them a vision that I'm going to be here, they're gone. Okay? Think about it. So you're going to manage the turnover by providing some superior communication and training. Clearly. Okay? So I'm going to finish with this. Your recruiting style. Because we all want to recruit. We all want to try to get good people to come to our firm. I'm going to use Mike as my example. If I push Mike, what's the chance I build a relationship with him? 0. So recruiting is all about finding where you are. Correct? Mike is not going to be overwhelmed by the fact saying, would you like to come to work for me? Nobody is going to be overwhelmed by the fact of that. Okay? There's nothing about me that would compel a third party to go, I'm working for you tomorrow. Unless something bad over there is happening. So I call recruiting a fire and rescue business. If you don't know where the fires are over there, you can't rescue them to come over here. It's that clear, right? So I got to find out, Mike, how's things going in your world in real estate? What's going on? And he gives me some answers, and he looks at it, and he goes, you know, things are really not going so well. Aha, the fire. Now all I have to do is pour gasoline on it. So what's going on over in your world that you need to change? And he's going to tell me. And now he's directed toward me. I am not the pushy person. I am the guy saving. Who are you? Who are you in your real estate world? Are you the pusher or are you the savior? And I want you to think about that. And real estate agents are really good at gravitating toward people who they believe will save them. That's right. So there was 3 things we discussed: business planning, creating inspirational environments, and having a style. It's been my honor and pleasure to be your instructor today. If you want a copy of the outline, leave a business card up here on this table, And I'll stay out in the hall afterward for any questions. Thank you very much for being here today. Appreciate it.